Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining. What do you think of that little animated intro? I rigged up the Hyperdeck this morning to do that intro, so that was fun. I think I'm live. Yep, looks good. Good to see everybody in the chat. I see there's a good amount of discussion happening already, so I'm going to take a look at that in a second. But in the meantime, I want to know where you all are joining from. So go ahead, and if you're joining live, say something in the chat and tell me what city or country you are in. And we will put this up on the screen in a second, if I can find the right button for it. Ah, it worked. That was lucky. I've done a lot of fiddling with my setup today. Again, of course, as usual. Oh, we got a good European crowd today. This is great. Hi, Deidre from Virginia. Hello, Card Shark from Germany. Rich Davis from London. Good to see everybody in the chat. So, again, the plan for today, we're going to chat about the ATEM Mini, going to chat about the new ATEM Mini ISO, going to chat about the Streaming Bridge. I'm happy to answer questions about any or all of these. I, of course, don't have my hands on them yet. They have not made it to the US yet, but I'm still happy to answer questions. I've read up as much as I possibly can about it, and yeah, we'll have a good time. If you do have a question for me in the chat, make sure you mention my full name, Aaron Parecki, and that highlights it orange for me, and then I can make sure I actually will see it. And yeah, so the quick sort of update of what's different today about my setup, since I always seem to change something. What's new today is I decided to not use the Pocket 4K on this stream because last week it was a bit stressful because it's still brand new to me and I have not yet learned it all. I have not got my colors to match at all. So I'm back on the G7 today, which is a perfectly fine camera. And we're just going to stick with that camera today. And I do have of course, my little Sony ZV-1 over here, which is plugged into USB power and doing okay. It's doing okay there. And it's on a little arm. And then I've got, of course, my two ATEM Minis. I've got the Hyperdeck plugged in today. The Hyperdeck is doing, I did that little animated title at the beginning. I was programming the macro to cut right at the end of the clip. And I can go over that when we get a chance. And for the chat today, since everybody asks, what I am doing today is I've actually took out the H2R for today, going back to my little YouTube hack, because I can show you on the screen. What I've got is I've got the chat pulled up on my main computer here, and what that does is it means that I can actually cast this from Chrome into my Chromecast that's back there. And that is then feeding into, you can see, this is my computer screen. You can kind of tell if I can't resize this window, it'll break everything. But if you see that there's like some extra, there's like my ATEM software control. Well, here, I'll just put this in front of it, right? This is my computer window, but this is the Chrome tab shared into one of the inputs. So I can share just that Chrome tab as an input into the ATEM, which means I don't need a second HDMI out from the computer, which is super cool. So I decided to give that a shot today to see how that goes. And so far, so good. But basically it means I need fewer screens and fewer extra monitors, and I can now show the chat on the screen. So let's take a look at the chat and see if I can get to any questions off the bat. Otherwise, yeah. All right, let's do it. So yeah, good to see everybody here. This is the new streaming bridge, which I assume is what Stuart's talking about here, is super cool. Definitely, I think more excited about that than the new ATEM Mini Pro ISO. How many words can we add to the product name? But it's super cool. I am super excited about it because being able to like link up multiple sites or remote control someone's feed, like, or someone's remote ATEM getting the stream back into yours, or just using it as another local amplification. What's the word? Image magnification. Similar word. But yeah, being able to just get another video source out into the room is cool. But I think I'm most excited about it for remote workflows. And cannot wait to try it out. Definitely cannot wait to try it out. But they said end of August, so still have a few weeks. All right. Yeah, there's I'm already behind on chat. I'm sorry. Shoji Production says, I'm having AV sync issues when using a Sony as a webcam with a hardwired lav and video capture card on Zoom. So I've noticed this on Zoom sometimes. It heavily depends on the computer that it's plugged into and how busy that computer is. And sometimes my computer, this one, which is a 13-inch MacBook Pro, I think it's 2019 or 2018, so it's not old. Sometimes it struggles in Zoom if there's a lot of other stuff going on. And what it looks like is the webcam feed sort of gets delayed and then it'll catch up really fast, which is super weird. So if that's the kind of sync you mean, it could just be temporary glitches in the computer. If you're actually having like they're both stable, but they're not aligned, then, well, I guess if you're running the audio into the camera, then it should be in sync. So it's the computer's fault at that point. I don't trust computers. I'm willing to blame them for most problems. All right. We've got everybody joining from all over the place. This is great. All right. Tim says, I'm annoyed with Blackmagic having to wait so long for the Pro to be delivered that 1 month later they announced the ISO. Especially unfortunate if the new features would be useful. So yeah, if you're not familiar, if you haven't watched the announcement or my video from last week, the ISO is the new model. It's $300 more than the Pro, so it's now $895. The main new feature they added is each input gets recorded onto the drive as well. So in addition to recording the program out, it'll record ISO feeds of each input, so that you can then re-edit later. But it also creates a Resolve project, and that means you can actually just like load it up and make small edits without having to re-edit the whole thing. Super cool. And yeah, if that would be useful it's not like, honestly, my workflow here doesn't need it. Like, I'm not recording this even locally, right? I'm just streaming to YouTube and that's it. That's the only copy of the show. But for recording conferences, when I go out and do like those kind of gigs, that is when I do want the backup of each camera in case I make a mistake when I cut. I can go back and fix it. Super cool. I will say, because the Pros are still pretty much out of stock everywhere, if you did just buy one and you want to upgrade, you can probably sell your Pro because a lot of people are still waiting for them. Speaking of which, I might have one for sale as well because I don't need that many. And I did buy the ISO, so hopefully that comes soon. Cool. All right, now we're going to tell the questions. So, okay, this is one I get a lot, actually. How can I use my computer and record at the same time using the ATEM? So there's only one USB port on the ATEM Mini, all of them. So that means it's either going to be recording to a USB drive itself, or it's going to be a webcam to your computer, and you can't make it do both. And there's no option there. So the only option you have if you do want to be able to record and use it as a webcam is recording it in your computer. So you could open up OBS And you should be able to have multiple apps in your computer use the same, use the ATEM as a webcam. So that would work. Or you can use the HDMI out, sacrifice your multi-view, and use that as a program out to an external recorder. I guess you could also stream to the streaming bridge once that's out and record that on from its HDMI out. But there's not a good solution, really. Russell says, "Are you going to get another 3D print for third on your stack?" let me show you. Let me show you the stack. So the if I can get my, where's my get rid of the chat. That's what I need to do, and then go over to the Apple TV, and I should be able to AirPlay a camera into this again. And we had fun with this last time of AirPlaying from various apps into my Apple TV. And if I remember the one that worked the best, what was it? It was, I want to say, oh, I have too many of these camera apps on my phone now. I want to say it may have been Shoot. There's little bars over it, so no. Live Air Solo. Okay. Yes, that one's the best. Okay. Yeah, so the little stack of ATEMs over here is, I don't know how it put myself in the corner, but that's what I wanted. It read my mind. Little stack of ATEMs over here. They're on a 3D print. One of these is on a 3D printed case. So I've got a little stand for it. And that way I can, so it's just tall enough that all the wires slip under it. And that way it's a neat little package there. I like it a lot. I don't think I'm going to put a third one up there because that would be ridiculous. And nobody needs 3 on a desk. At that point, I would just use the television studio, which I've been considering because I have too many things wired up in here. And especially now that, like, if I'm going to make this a permanent fixture here, this Hyperdeck, then I think I might be better off using the actual television studio for that. So yeah, probably not going to do 3, but yeah, that means I will be selling one of these. All right, Alan says, I'm thinking of incorporating Edit and NDI to ATEM Mini Pro via eCam as an HDMI source. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, so if you run an NDI feed into eCam, which is a software-based switcher, but then have that output over HDMI into the ATEM, that would totally work. So you're basically using your computer as an NDI to HDMI converter, which is totally reasonable. I also will say the Apple TV has been working very well as an NDI to HDMI converter. So that's the other option there. But that's, of course, a device and a $100 app. Still less than $300. No, less than $400 total. But the eCam is not free either. So take your pick. Roland says, the streaming bridge shouldn't exist. ATEMs ought to be able to communicate directly with their virtual camera 5, which can be controlled via the ATEM control software. Whoa, that's a thought. I mean, if ATEMs could communicate directly, it would be putting a streaming server, RTMP server, inside of the ATEM, which sounds weird. But sure, that'd be cool. I mean, building it all into one would definitely make it a very powerful virtual or remote production workflow device. But yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I feel like ATEM Mini is already one of the things that Blackmagic's done that's put more things into one device than normal. They tend to do a lot more like standalone devices where every device has one purpose, which is actually nice, so you can upgrade them one at a time. But the ATEM is meant to be like an all-in-one. But I think I'm more interested in having it separate. One of the other cool things about having it separate is I'm pretty sure it's actually a generic RTMP server. I'm going to test this when I get it. But I'm pretty sure it's just a generic RTMP server, which means I should be able to broadcast to it from OBS or any other streaming source. So yeah, I'll be curious to try that. And I just realized my lights aren't on, but thank you, Alec, for the super chat. I can't, it's a sticker. My CSS hack failed me. I can't show it because it's, I can't click on it because it's a sticker, and I never apparently added support for stickers, but thank you, Alec. And let me go turn on my lights because, then the lights will change color next time there's a super chat. There we go. Okay. Where was I? There I was. Okay. Rich says, I'm still struggling to get Zoom to show HD resolution. I've started using the second camera advanced sharing, which gives 1080p, but seems to end random audio delay. I don't have any advice here. Sorry. It's a total crapshoot as to whether Zoom's going to decide to play ball at any given point, really. I do think Zoom is the best out of all of them, but yeah, it's you know, it's what you can do. It's cloud-based video software, so everyone's using it, so it's a little bit overloaded right now. Rick says, I ordered a streaming bridge, but I'm curious how much lag I will experience for remote workflows. Aren't we all? Yeah, I'm super curious. In the demo, they showed direct point-to-point connection, and the delay was, I will say, minimal, but it was noticeable. So like I wouldn't be able to even probably look at myself in that monitor because there'd be too much delay for that, but totally reasonable for like overhead camera or second angle. As for over the internet, who knows? That's going to depend on a lot of things. But yeah, I'll be testing that out for sure. And Lance says, definitely interested in the streaming bridge than anything else. Almost gave me hope it could solve multiple remote video coming into the ATEM. I think, yeah, if you get multiple of them, you can get multiple people streaming video into your local site, which is pretty cool. Card Shark says, is there a chance of clicking the on-air button via macro or software? Can't reach the ATEM Mini when in front of the camera. Oh, yeah. I don't think that, I think that and the, I think that and the recorder are one of the ones that don't get baked into macros. And I remember somebody else trying this earlier. So it won't work on a macro, but other software apps should be able to send that command. But you would need to find a software app that knows about the ATEM Mini because it's the only ATEM that has the streaming button. So there's like Strata. So there's Strata Macros, which is the macro app I use on my iPad. There's also like a Strata, I forget what it's called, Control or something, where it actually gives you all the buttons that are on the ATEM. So it'll be like all your camera buttons. And I don't think they've updated it for the ATEM Mini yet, but if they did, they could add a button for starting the streaming. Yep. Alan says ATEM Mini is in stock now. Oh yeah, you know where else it's in stock is DVE Store. They just posted so let me drop this link. This is the ATEM Mini link for the ATEM Mini at DVE Store, and they do have a whole bunch of them in stock right now, and they have been great. They are the ones that shipped me all of mine, and they've been wonderful to work with. And yeah, so that is cool that those are now finally back in stock in places. So no pros yet. Timothy says, I wonder what's the maximum number of streaming bridges that can be connected to the ATEM Mini Pro? I would say 4 because there's 4 inputs. And the ATEM Mini Pro doesn't really know anything about the streaming bridge. It just receives an HDMI feed out of it, right? So it doesn't really matter. Tim says, yeah, the new recording feature on the ISO isn't much use if you're using the USB for webcam. So yeah, if you are using this primarily as a webcam, the ISO, you probably don't need the ISO model because you're not going to gain anything by having your USB taken up by your computer all the time. Really, it's more for the live switching production workflows. All right. So Chaos Magic Studios says, trying to figure out iMag with the ATEM Mini. Do I have any options without losing multi-view? Well, the streaming bridge is the option now. That's the best option, I would say. The other option is, of course, the USB webcam out to a computer, which is then full screening that from QuickTime or something, which is hacky, but it works. Oh, I just saw my lights change. Thank you for the super chat. Michael. Why don't GoPros work with the ATEM Hero 3? And do you know if the backup created with the ATEM Pro will work with ISO? All macros. The backup created... Oh, so, okay, 2 questions. Why don't GoPros work? I have had some of them work. You have to disable... you have to disable the stabilization, otherwise it's super delayed. And I don't have a 3. Hero 3. I have a Hero 6 and 5 and 7 or something. But those have worked. I don't like the colors on them, so I don't usually use them like for inside stuff, because they're not really meant to be inside cameras anyway. But it should. I don't know about the 3 though. I don't have that one. Sorry. I would say if you ever plug in a camera over HDMI and it doesn't show up in the ATEM. And Nathan says a Hero 3 black works. So if it doesn't show up in the ATEM, there's 2 things you can do. One, try a shorter cable, because HDMI cable length does matter for that signal. It depends on both the thing sending and the thing receiving. So try a shorter cable. And if that doesn't work, try plugging that camera into a monitor and see if the monitor sees it. And if the monitor sees it, then you know there is something that you can troubleshoot. If the monitor doesn't see it, then it might just be the camera, I don't know, doesn't do HDMI out the way that it should or something. But yeah, Nathan is saying that Hero 3 black works fine. Oh, there was a second part of that question. So the backup created with the ATEM Mini Pro, with all the macros and stuff, the XML file, will very likely work in the ISO. And the reason I say that is because I've taken my backups, my XML files from the Mini, and imported them into the Pro. And that all comes forward. They usually just add things into that format. They don't like change things. So I think you can even go down. I think you get a warning about it, but I think you can take a Pro XML file and restore it into a Mini. It just obviously doesn't translate the settings it doesn't recognize. But yeah, they're pretty portable. All right. Christian says, did I change the fan on the Hyperdeck yet? I have not yet. It's still sitting in this little box over here. So at some point, maybe that's a project for today. We will see about that. Do you think they will add the ability to link ATEM Minis together in the software, essentially opening up more inputs, making it seem like multiple ATEMs are as one? Oh, so like talking, like having the software app control 2 at the same time. I don't know. I kind of doubt it. That's like really not at all how they work. And that is, they also like, they just do sell bigger ATEMs with many more inputs. So I feel like at that point, if you do need that many more inputs, you should maybe consider getting a bigger one. Especially if they end up porting some of these features in the Mini into the television studio line. Oh, this is good news. The Hyperdeck simulator on the Raspberry Pi will be updated to a working version after Jonas passes his exams. Wonderful. That's exciting. I am definitely looking forward to trying that out again once that gets updated, because that is a much cheaper version of a Hyperdeck and probably good enough for most things. All right. Can you use a streaming bridge to send to local monitors and stream to YouTube at the same time? I don't think so. So the ATEM streams to one location only. And this is one of the locations that you can now choose. That Streaming Bridge is one of the locations. So it can't stream to that and to YouTube itself. The question remains as to whether the Stream Bridge is a generic RTMP server, in which case you could like use a proxy service to stream from the ATEM to the proxy service, like Restream or whatever, one then going out to YouTube, one going to your Streaming Bridge. That's going to start to get weird. So not sure how well that'll work, but it might be possible. But it's not really possible to do 2 streams out of the ATEM Mini yet. I do wonder about that though, because the ISO now has extra H.264 encoders in it, one for each of the inputs. And I wonder if it's possible they could like repurpose those to encode the program out and stream to multiple locations or not. That'd be cool, a cool feature to add. Tim says, what are the chances of an ATEM Mini Pro ISO 4K? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like every guess I've had about their new products has been completely wrong, and I did not expect them to come out with another ATEM Mini model before like updating some of the other ATEM switchers. So who knows? Who knows? Michael says, is the Streaming Bridge good for video link like Skype? I'm hoping it is, but I suspect it's not, because I think the latency is going to be just a bit too long to be usable in a conversation. But I definitely want to test that out. So the trick is going to be doing all the routing of getting the video and audio back to your guest. It might be easiest, honestly, to like if you're trying to interview somebody remotely, they have an ATEM streaming to your Streaming Bridge, then it might be easiest to just put up a phone next to the camera and FaceTime in order to have the actual link between the two of you so that you get the real-time conversation. But then you have the mix includes the better audio and better video. We'll see. John says, Blackmagic has added a mini optical fiber 2 from SDI. Oh, that's cool. An HDMI fiber version would be useful for longer cable runs with the ATEM Mini. Yeah, but you can also just get HDMI cables that are fiber, and then it's just built into the cable. I don't have any myself, but I've heard several people have had good luck with those. So I would take a look at that, because that's a much cheaper option than buying actual fiber and converters on both ends. But fiber HDMI cables should totally work. I think I think we already talked about this. Mark says, I'm a bit confused about the bridge. When I stream to it, will I still be able to stream to YouTube? Yeah, no, the bridge is a streaming destination from the ATEM. So that is where you, again, can only stream to one location. Christian says, I think I saw somebody doing the macro on air and it worked. Oh, well, why don't we try it? Because we can do that. Oh, my background has changed. Who's that? Thank you. Tim. Oh, thank you so much. A few pounds towards your new ISO. Yep. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. Okay. Let's try this. Let me hide the chat and go to my other ATEM. So let me give you my computer screen, go over to the second ATEM, and this is the one that's not on air. And let me double check I don't have a saved stream key in there. Okay. So yeah, this is the one that's not on air right now. And if I look at I'll show you the multi-view in a second from this, but what are we doing? We are doing creating a macro to go on air. I think I'm going to have to put a stream key in. I should be able to just do that and see if it at least tries to go on air and fails. So let me go make a macro. Let's call it on air, record, and then we're just going to go on air. It's going to fail because that's not a valid stream key. I don't care. I'm going to stop recording, stop pushing junk to YouTube. And then we're going to save this as on-air test. I don't need everything. I just need the macros. And then we're going to open this up in the XML editor, and it's called on-air test. Somewhere down here. Oh, look at that. No, it totally works. So check this out. It even records the stream key. So it didn't record the destination. I wonder if I just didn't choose the destination when I recorded the macro. Let's try that because I think that would be even better. Replace it with a new macro, and we're going to choose YouTube, choose primary, enter the stream key, choose the quality, press on air. Stop recording, press off air, and save this, and open up the new file, which is down here. And, oh yeah, look at that. Okay. Okay. It saves it in the output, but it didn't put it in the macro. So you would have to, right, that makes sense, I guess. Fair. So it does save the stream key in the macro, which is interesting to me because that means you could make macros to change what YouTube show you're streaming to, essentially, with macros. But that is how we figured out whether it was possible to record them, that action in the macro, and now you know that you can just grab these two op lines and pull them into whatever macros you're actually building. So thanks for that. Cool. Glad to know that does work. And Keith, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. All right. Where were we on the chats? So Show G Production says, any easy way to shut down all Mac background tasks so the Mac can focus on streaming Zoom only, or just sell me your spare ATEM Pro? I am going to list mine. So I should have done that before I started the stream, now that I think about it. But yeah, I am going to post mine somewhere for sale, and I'm happy to ship it to somebody who needs it. I have not found an easy way to shut down all background tasks. The one thing I do, though, often, although I haven't lately, and I probably should switch back to doing that, is it was more when I was doing this in front of people at events, but I actually make a second user account on my Mac, and that user account, then I don't install any of the little apps that run all the time, and you can make it so that user account doesn't auto start those. And then you can log out of your main account and log in as that guest account or second account. And that way you can just make sure there's less stuff running without also messing up your main account on your computer. So that is probably what I would recommend doing. It's a little bit easier than quitting all your programs and then having to remember what they were. Yeah. Paulo says, do you think Blackmagic will find a way to connect the ATEM Mini to the Stream Bridge using the USB-C connection? I don't think it's going to be part of the Stream Bridge because that's such a dedicated device. But it's definitely possible they could make a device that does that, of essentially USB webcam to HDMI, which now that they made the Streaming Bridge, which I didn't see coming at all, it would not surprise me if they also made a webcam to HDMI converter at this point, which would be very cool. Tim says the pros are in stock in certain retailers in the UK. That's good to know. I feel like the UK and EU get a lot better treatment from Blackmagic. I feel like they always get theirs first, and I'm sitting here waiting. Yeah, it's disappointing that ISO recording is a new model and not a firmware update. It's disappointing, but it makes sense because it's not just a firmware feature. There are now 4 more H.264 encoders in that device, and that's a lot of circuitry to add, not just something you can do in firmware. If this was a generic computer, like with a regular computer CPU, then they could do it with a software update, but it's not a computer, thankfully. It's dedicated circuits doing this stuff, which makes it a lot more reliable. But the downside is that adding features sometimes requires you to bring them in by adding new circuits, so new firmware, new hardware model. I do suspect that One of the reasons they didn't change the form factor and like add a headphone jack that everybody's asking for is because of all of the setup that goes into creating the actual physical device. So that is all up and running. So all they had to do was add a few more chips onto the board rather than like redesign their entire production workflow for the faceplate and the case and all that. I do wish they had just added one HDMI and a headphone jack out. Like that would be the best device. That would have been a significant hardware upgrade. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Have you tried Touch Portal app with ATEM Mini Pro? I have not. I have not used Touch Portal app. I just saw someone talking about it Saturday. Oh, it was Kevin, Basic Filmmaker. He is setting up a workflow with Touch Portal, and although he's using OBS with it. So I do know it's possible. I just haven't done it myself. I think I'm trying to see if there's a good resource for this to point you to. I think John from Here to Record has videos on it. Now I'm questioning whether he does. But I would look at his channel too, because he has a lot of good videos on that. But anyway, it should be doable. It's the same idea. And thank you for the super chat. Card Shark, thank you as well. I am very glad to help out and get you up and running. Cool. Where are we? About the chat. Okay, we've got I did the YouTube, get the YouTube question. How do you show the live world map with with the pins? That's something I hacked together. I still haven't published it. It still needs more work, and I haven't had time to work on it, but it works for me. And basically it's whatever you type in the live chat. When I turn this on, it's like I hit go. Whatever you type in, it removes things like hello and like those kind of words, and it takes whatever's left, throws it at the Google geocoder, and tries to find a location. So if you say like hello from Portland, it'll just give Portland to Google, and Google will be like, oh, that's at this location. And then it drops a pin on the map at that location. So it's not perfect, but it does a pretty good job. Once I went through a couple of my live chat history transcripts, and I found all the words that people are throwing in at the beginning of like, hello, good morning, and that kind of stuff. And I have a whole list of those words in there to strip those out. And yeah, it works pretty well. It's a lot of fun. Tim says, any thoughts about which features from the ISO firmware will be added to the Pro and the Mini? Yeah, so my suspicion, so Grant explicitly said that they are going to bring some of the features from the ISO into the Pro. I don't remember if he said Mini or not, but definitely Pro. And my guess is that it's going to create the resolve file, but not record ISOs. And the reason I think this is because creating the resolve file is something that's entirely software based, right? It's just additional software. It's not, it doesn't require like an H.264 encoder to do that. So I think that will, that's something they could bring into the Pro as firmware. And the reason it would be useful is because the Pro can still tell Blackmagic cameras to start recording. So when you hit record on the Pro, it'll send the record signal to the cameras, which means your ISOs live in the cameras. So your USB drive has the Resolve project, no video files from each camera, but once you match up with the video files from the cameras, you'd be able to have a full Blackmagic raw quality Resolve file with all your cameras, assuming you're using Blackmagic cameras for all of those, which is a safe assumption for Blackmagic to ship that feature. So that's what I think is going to happen. That's my prediction. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I have no idea when to expect that firmware update. But that is my prediction, and you can quote me on that and come back to this timestamp to prove me right. Okay. And I just saw a super chat come through from Paulo. Thank you very much. I was thinking using USB-C as an output, adding extra outputs, or to be multi-view through USB-C. So yeah, the USB-C doesn't do multi-view, and I don't think that's going to change. I don't think that can change. But it's entirely possible that they could add a USB-C to HDMI converter device. Like, that would not be out of the realm of possibility at this point for them to ship that device, because they're just on a roll shipping these little converter boxes these days. But yeah, thank you for the super chat. All right. Doug just had a nice video about fiber. Yes, he did. I haven't watched it yet, but that was a funny title. Go watch his video. And Blackmagic says they recommend fiber for longer runs. Cool. Is the ATEM allowing you to select the YouTube chat? No, that's I briefly mentioned at the beginning, but I'm casting a Chrome tab from my computer. So this is what I'm looking at on my computer screen, which is like, I have the YouTube console over here. I have the a tab over here. I've got the timer tab. I've got, wow, it's really excited. I've got my light control here, so I can change the lights to different colors. But one of the tabs happens to be YouTube chat, and I've just gone and sent it over to the Chromecast so that it shows up in one of the inputs. Oh, I just realized a small flaw with my little macros here. Okay. Anyway. Roland says you should sign your ATEM Mini Pro with a Dremel tool and hold an auction to sell it off. Oh dear. Yeah, I could sell a signed ATEM Mini Pro. That's hilarious. I don't think people want one that's all scratched up. Let me know if you do want one that's scratched up though, with my signature on it, because that would be hilarious. I love it. Okay. Okay, can I change the size of the picture-in-picture to even size, like a split screen, and can I do it with more than two sources? Sort of. So let me show you why sort of. Let's go over to, let me show you my computer, and we'll go over to the ATEM software control, and I think we're still on the test ATEM. Yeah, I've got the test streaming key in there. So actually I want to show you the multi-view now. Too many things kill the chat. There we go. Oh, you see the ATEM floating in my picture? It's because that's how I shot my thumbnail for that video. I was like, I just put it on the screen, and I was like, and I tried to look at it, try to imagine it's in my hands here. And then I hit the capture button. Well, actually, I think I just recorded the video and grabbed a frame out of that. For some reason, that was easier than doing this and then photoshopping it in later. Anyway, I need to get rid of that. Where is that? Okay. So the split screen. So, okay, what you're looking at is a multi-view of the ATEM that I'm controlling here, right? So I can like I can change program output, and we want to do a split screen. So upstream keyer is how you're going to do that. You want to do DVE, which is normally picture in picture. In fact, if I just like press the button on the ATEM, see how it like reset the position? So that's me pressing picture in picture buttons on the ATEM itself. That reset the position and the size. Obviously, you want this bigger and split screen. So there's two tools in here you can use. First, I'm going to change what fill source that is, and I'm going to make it my Let me load up this clip on my Hyperdeck that is me talking at a conference. Now, oops, I didn't mean to actually play that. All right, back up. Stop. Okay. Oh right, it's set to auto play. That's why I did that. So that is a Hyperdeck setting. Auto roll. I don't want that now. Okay. So that is now input 4. You can see it down there. And we want this to be full size, not tiny. We don't want a border. We want it not offset vertically, but I want to crop it now, right? I want it to be just half. So if I start with that, then I can mask the left. And I think I want to do, is it 8? Yeah. I think it's 16 units, whatever these units are. So take out, 32 wide. So, this is weird. Okay. I am in a weird mood today. That's fine. So we've got the left and the right cropped. I guess I need to crop the right. But now if I scoot it over 8, now it's on that half. So there's one half of your split screen. The problem is, so again, remember that think of these as layers. So there's the base video layer, which is like what's chosen here in the program. And that's what's in the main program window. Then there's the upstream keyer, which can go over it, and it can be resized. It can be keyed out with the chroma keyer, which is obviously not chroma. This is not a green screen background. But it did something, almost worked. So yeah, you can key out that layer. You can do, I've never used this feature, patterns. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I don't know why I would use this. Interesting. But the one that I do use all the time is DVE, which just resizes. So in this case, we're not scaling it down, we're just cropping it and scooting it over. And then the last layer is the downstream key, which can't resize things. It can only luma key, take out the blacks. So that's what I'm using for the chat, for example, which is, this window where the background down here is black, and see that the chat background is just a little bit above black. And that means I can take out the black, make it transparent, but you can't scoot that around. So I've now used up the upstream keyer, and I can't move the background video, and I don't have another upstream keyer to scoot it over with. So I could use another ATEM Mini, run this video into my other ATEM Mini, which I actually did this on one of my live streams, one of the early ones, I think. Or I can just sit over here. And if I just sit over here, now I'm side by side, right? Which is like pretty good. It's probably good enough. And that might be the best solution, is you just scoot over. Obviously move your mic, because I'm sure that sounded different. Anyway, hopefully that helps. But that is a good question. I do wish they had 2 upstream keyers, because then you could do side by side, but sadly not in the cards for that device. All right. That was a fun one. Now my thing is playing again because I switched to that input. Cool. How will you use a streaming bridge if you're going to get one in any productions? I'm definitely going to get one because I'm super excited about that one. So for this live stream, it's probably not actually useful because I don't need I need the streaming encoder to go out to YouTube because I stream from the ATEM. But what I am excited about trying is bringing in guests who have an ATEM Mini Pro. So I'm going to have it here. I'm going to have the bridge here and set up my network port forwarding, right? So I can get people from the outside to stream with or I guess it doesn't need port forwarding. It does some sort of NAT magic. I want to check out that too. It does something magical. But basically I want to be able to give guests my details of my streaming encoder so that they can push their ATEM Mini feed to me, so that I can have them appear as one of the HDMI inputs. And then we can do, again, side by side, where I just sort of sit over here, or I can just cut to them. So I am curious about how we're going to manage the communication back and forth, because I'll be able to hear them over that channel. They would be able to hear me on YouTube, but that's too delayed to have a conversation. So I would need to send them a video feed somehow, either a streaming bridge back to them, or a phone call or a Zoom call. I could bring up Zoom on my, because I'm not using the USB on this right now anyway. So I can have a Zoom call to them so they can hear me, or although it would actually be the program feed. So yeah, we got to figure out the audio routing there. I think John did this last week on his stream, where he brought in Doug, and they had a chat, and they were using Zoom for the video, and then had the audio routed differently to make that work. So it'll be a bit of work, but yeah, that's my plan for it, is really bringing in remote guests. Right now I do, one of my other shows is a bi-weekly live stream with a coworker, and we use StreamYard, where we both have our ATEM Minis as webcams going into StreamYard, and that's doing the mixing, where it's, we can do the side by side, we can do screen sharing into it, and it works well. But I'm curious to see if it's, I don't know, better quality or easier for us to manage if we are not going through the webcam and StreamYard encoding, and instead using the ATEM Mini itself. So we'll see. All right. Oh, wow. I got way behind again. Oh, Wilson. Sorry, I totally missed this. Thank you for the super sticker, which I, again, sadly can't show, but I can show it like this. It's a very cute behind the scenes clapper. Thank you for the super chat. And my background didn't change, or it did, and it's just not visible. But thank you. All right. Michael says, what program do you use to set up macros for the Stream Deck? So for this, I should have just left it on my computer. I use Companion. So I have a Raspberry Pi under my desk, and this is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. And then this is Companion, which sets up these buttons on the Stream Deck. So these buttons are, so you can see like this button that I was editing, it runs commands on both ATEMs, which is really the reason I started using this instead of the iPad, because I need to be able to tell the second ATEM to change what it's sending to the HDMI out. So sending the Hyperdeck input, and I need to then run a macro on the main ATEM. But it's super great. So these are the buttons I use, which are on the Stream Deck actual thing on my desk here. Cool. Okay. Thank you all for the kind comments. Roland says, I run my program out into HDMI splitter, which sends it to both a small recorder and a spare capture card feeding into QuickTime Recorder. That works. If it's multi-view, then you are only able to capture a quarter of 1080, right? Like you can crop what you capture out of the multi-view, but it's then lower resolution. But if you're using program out on the HDMI, that's totally fine. Yep, that's a good plan. So I have, it's actually kind of similar here, where I'm not recording, but I could, because I have my ATEM HDMI out going into this, which is just a monitor. Although I could, if it was a Blackmagic Video Assist, it could record. And this has an output as well, which goes over to this monitor. And this is just because I like being able to see this bigger when I'm doing these shows about the ATEM. When I'm doing work stuff where I'm just using the ATEM as the mixer, this screen is fine, a fine size for that. So, but yeah, some of those monitors have pass through, which is cool. Thank you for the kind words. It is a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too. Keith says, yes, it would sell. Oh, is that about the signed ATEM Mini? Gosh. I think I should post a listing for a signed ATEM Mini before I actually sign it, in case it doesn't sell. Then I won't have etched my name into one of them. Jordan says, thoughts on the G7, not just as a streaming camera, but as an everyday video camera. So I use mine exclusively at this desk for this. This is the G7 that you're seeing right now. And I have not used it as a like on the go out video camera. I don't even use it for like the shoots that I do recorded here. That's not true. A couple times I've used it for like I think I actually shot the last week's video on the G7, still sitting there on my desk, but recording to the SD card, just because it was there. I needed to get the video out right away, and it was easier than setting up another camera. But I haven't used it for any sort of like, off my desk. It's a good camera, but I will say it's definitely missing a lot of features that the GH5S has, of course, because that is 4 times the price. And I don't like, it works completely fine for this use case and for even, the video that I recorded here, not just streaming. But I'm not sure what it's missing for on the go recording that I would miss that the GH5S has. So, the reason I got it for streaming is because it is so cheap. Okay, Michael says, what is the best driver of image quality in 1080p, sensor size, megapixels? I'm, not an expert on camera stuff. Gerald is the expert on camera stuff. I would trust his opinion more than mine on that. But everything I hear, sensor size seems to be the driving factor there of bigger sensors, more light, better image, all that. I'm like Micro Four Thirds everywhere or smaller. I don't like big cameras, even if I could get better quality out of them. I just don't like having bigger lenses and bigger cameras, so I stick with Micro Four Thirds. And, I miss out on a little bit of the low light performance, I guess, but honestly, it's fine. So I guess best ways to improve your image quality is actually none of these. It's going to be good light and good lens, right? So like this light is on my desk. It's fine. It's not even that expensive, but I'm well lit. My face is well lit. There aren't like weird shadows. And then the lens I'm using is actually a very nice lens. It's my Leica 15 millimeter. I swapped out because I was thinking about setting up the Blackmagic camera today. So I put my 12 to 35 on that. So both of those are great lenses. They're upgrades from the kit lens. So I would say those are going to make a bigger difference than even sensor size. Lighting. And my background turned green. Thank you for the super chat. What HDMI cable are you using for camera control on the ATEM? I think every HDMI cable I've tried has worked so far. I haven't had a cable not work. So what Blackmagic did is they are using a feature that's in HDMI cables that normally is like sending commands to the TV from a sound bar, right? So like that channel exists in the cable. They just repurposed it and wrote their own protocol that can control the camera. But all HDMI cables that support that, which I think is all of them, can do it. What has broken the chain is splitters and monitors. So I have that little 4K, little field world monitor on my desk here. That does not send the control signal through the pass-through to the camera. So I can't have an HDMI monitor in front of me and then also use the camera control. The Blackmagic Video Assist, however, does pass that control signal through because it's Blackmagic's device and they can do that. So I was able to use the video assist as a monitor from, so I can see myself on the Blackmagic camera and still get the control signals through. And then most HDMI splitters are going to break that too. You might be able to find some that work with it, but I haven't tried yet. And the one that I have here, the little tiny one that I use on my desk, did not work. So hopefully that answers that. But yeah, most cables are going to be fine. Where was I? Keith says, sign it, don't engrave it. There's no room to sign it. Oh, I could get one of those, like, white Sharpie, like really bright, solid white ink. That would look cool. Thank you, Valdo from Venezuela. Thanks for joining. What file format do you use most on the Hyperdeck? Do you use compressor to convert other file types? So far, I've mostly used the QuickTime, like 422 whatever format, and that's what my graphics here are recorded. It does mean that my 18-minute video is like multiple gigs, but whatever. SD cards are pretty cheap. It theoretically does play H.264 files, but I haven't yet actually tried I haven't found the right settings to make that work. And most of the time I'm not playing 18-minute or 20-minute videos anyway, so I'm actually just using much shorter clips. So the file size isn't really a problem. Christian says, do you think the DaVinci project will be available as a firmware update for the ATEM Mini Pro? Yeah, and I think I talked about that earlier. So hopefully you catch up and see that question. All right. Vidal says, couldn't you do DVE push and slide the transition slider to the middle to accomplish the split screen from two sources? Oh no, let's try it. I hadn't even thought about that. So I don't use this slider. I just never use it. Let me rewind my little HDMI player. Okay. So if I have myself on the side, can I use a DVE transition? Oh, this hurts this hurts. I don't like this. I need to put it there. Nope, not mix DVE. No, you can't. That's right. Because it actually uses the upstream keyer for this transition. I remember this before. We tried this before. And yeah, there is only one like thing that can move video around inside, and you can either use it for your upstream keyer or you can use it for your transition. But once you use it for the transition, you can't then enable the upstream keyer. So yeah, that is the limit of that device. Roland says, what about the flying key? Yeah, the problem is that flying key, there is no flying key on the downstream keyer, which is where you need it, because we use the upstream keyer for one, and we don't have a second upstream keyer, and the downstream keyer doesn't do flying key. And then Nathan says, larger TV productions, at least as split screen was done in the 80s, pan the camera both ends for side-by-side views and split down the center. I mean, it works, right? Like, if you just move the camera so the person is on the side, move the other camera so the person's on that side, and then split instead of using any flying DVE stuff. It works. It's a good hack, though. All right. XLR mic into the mic preamp and preamp out to 3.5 mic of Sony a6400. I've never used an XLR mic with my a6400. I do have that camera, but I haven't used it recently. I'm thinking about repurposing it as a top-down camera. Probably not for this desk, but over there for my other, I might use it for that. Anyway, I'm not sure about that one, sorry. So how do you pull up the individual chat questions from the Chromecast chat? So I have talked about my weird little CSS JavaScript hack on here a couple times. Go check out one of my other live streams where I talk about like how that part works. But what it is, oh, let me get rid of it there. So it is this browser window. And when I click a message, it pops up on the bottom. And then I've got it set up as a downstream key on the ATEM so that when I bring in the downstream key, it's in the other ATEM. When I bring in the downstream key here, it is masked. So if I don't mask it, it shows the whole Chromecast tab, right? It's still keyed. So it's showing on top of my computer. But if I mask it, I just crop out the top part. So only that bottom part with the black background shows through. And because it's a Chrome tab, it doesn't eat one of my HDMI outs on my computer, which is very nice. Card Shark says, do you think that a Mevo that could stream to RTMP would be able to communicate with the streaming bridge so I can get it into the ATEM? I think so. I strongly suspect that the streaming bridge is a generic RTMP receiver. And I think you'll be able to stream to it from any RTMP device. That is my sneaking suspicion, which I am going to confirm as one of the first things I do when I get this device. MJ says, it says almost 200 people watching, so why only a handful of likes? Get on it, people. Hit the like button. Yes, hit the like button. Like and subscribe. But seriously, hit the like button because I think that makes YouTube like my streams better. And if you subscribe and hit the bell, then you won't miss the next time I go live. Because a lot of people also say they didn't know I was live until halfway through because YouTube doesn't actually push out notifications instantly to everybody. So thank you. All right. Yeah, Tim says the G7 is a great. Oh yeah, it's a 4K camera. I forgot that it actually shoots 4K. I don't use that feature at all. So yeah, Tim uses it as a regular video camera. It is it's a very good deal. Keith says, do they make HDMI adapters they do make HDMI adapters that pull out the audio? I didn't see a headphone jack on the Stream Bridge, which is, I guess, a missed opportunity, but fair. But yeah, there are they're called audio extractors. So if you search for audio extractors, it's like HDMI pass-through with a headphone jack. But honestly, like, in my opinion, you're better off pulling audio out of the monitor that you're monitoring from. So like my headphones here are connected to this monitor because that's just, it's already showing me the video, the program out from the ATEM, and I might as well just plug in a headphones into that, and it works fine. Rasmus says, can you make a video setting up the companion on the Pi? Yeah, that's a good idea. It's not, I didn't do anything special. I mostly just read the docs that Companion themselves published. So their instructions were pretty good. I do like, you need to be familiar with, running stuff on the command line and setting up a Raspberry Pi to follow the instructions. So I'm not sure how much more helpful a video could be, but that is a good idea for a video. Roland says the ZV-1 looks great, even though it's a 1-inch sensor with good lighting. The sensor size isn't an issue, as you indicate. Yeah, lighting's the most important thing, really. Otherwise, you would just see a void. What does it look like without my light? This is with no light. Oh, I lied. There's a light back here, my hair light. We can do the stream like that from now on. It'll be fun. Michael says, I use Final Cut Pro. How do I export videos to the Hyperdeck Mini? I haven't used Final Cut in a while, but you want to find I believe it's called QuickTime format. And then one of the QuickTime ProRes, that would do it. Basically, I just tried a bunch of things until one worked. That's how I ended up doing it. So, but yeah, start with QuickTime ProRes 422, see if that works, and load onto the card, see if it plays. If not, try one of the other options and just keep going. Homer says, what does ISO stand for? So this confused me for a long time, but it turns out, so because ISO is also a camera term, right? And it has nothing to do with like the light setting that it normally refers to. It is an abbreviation. It's not even an acronym. I don't know why everybody capitalizes it all the time. It's short for isolated or isolation, or yeah, because it's isolated recordings of each camera, and as opposed to a mixed recording. And it's just too long to say that, so everybody shortens it to ISO, but then they capitalize it. So I don't know why. Like, it shouldn't be capitalized because it's not an acronym. Unless I'm just totally wrong, but anyway, yeah, it just means isolated recording. I get the impression that ATEM Mini Pro can't handle motion that well. Do you mean in the streaming encoding? So like, if I do this, like, is this worse? I can see my data rate shot up because it's more stuff to encode. So fun fact, actually, I spent literally all day Saturday making a video in After Effects, which was my first time using After Effects, really. And what it is it's a encoder stress test. And I'm going to show it on I don't have it on my Hyperdeck yet, but I'm going to show it on my screen. So what this is I'm trying to be able to test, the quality of various encoders. So I have a pile of capture cards I'm trying to test, and I want to put them through paces and see how they do. But I also want to be able to test like the streaming encoder from the ATEM, for example. How well does it encode this video? So I made this video in After Effects, and I basically went through a handful. I went and found, like, I tried to imagine, like, what are things that are hard for the device to encode. So this one is a spinner. So I'm also playing this back at 480 right now, so you can see what happens when it's getting compressed. Plus it's being scaled because it's on my computer screen. So this is no indication of the ATEM encoding right now. I'm playing this from YouTube, encoded it, resized to 480 intentionally so that you can see all the artifacts. So you can see the lines here are a little squiggly. The middle's kind of muddy. This is actually 4 tracks of white noise, just like random pixels, and they're moving at different speeds. If I make the quality a little better, you'll see what I mean. So you can kind of see it where that bottom one's moving fast, the second one's moving a little bit slower, and the top one's barely moving, and it's just random noise. And you can see that at 480, it just completely cannot even handle it. This does not move. This is just to test the dynamic range of the encoder, which this one's doing a pretty good job of. So you can see the line on each segment. This one is encoding just tiny blocks that are getting bigger. This one's for the color range test, where I've got all the primary colors and then gradients to white and to black. This thing is a blob of colors that are rotating around the spectrum, and you can see it's not doing too great with those gradients at this resolution. These little spinners are just colored spinners, and you can see that it's mangling them pretty well. This one's interesting. You can see how that blue and purple is creating a little black line around it. So that's an artifact, again, of the encoding. This is just a metronome, and at 480, it's actually downscaling to 30p. Also, my stream is 30p, not 60. This video clip exists in 60p. And what you can't see is that, oops, not mean to full screen that. What you can't see, actually it looked better full screen. What you can't see on this clip is, nope. This track is an audio offset counter. So this track in 30p, it actually skips to 0, but in 60p it hits 0 and turns green. And then these are little color blocks. You can kind of see some weird issues between where the colors meet sometimes. And these are bubbles. I don't know what this is testing, maybe motion. I just thought they were fun. So yeah, this took me a while to make. But then my plan is to basically feed this into the ATEM Mini from a Hyperdeck. This file, when it's in full resolution, like full quality for a minute, it's like 6 gigs as a ProRes file. And my plan is to load that into the Hyperdeck, play it into one of the inputs of the Mini, and then test the encoder of the Mini at various bit rates to see how it does with all those different things. So if you have any ideas for other things that I should add into that clip to test, let me know. Because I'm trying to make it, before I do this test, I want to make sure there's enough stuff in that clip that it's actually a good test. So if you have any ideas, let me know what other things I should add to that. But yeah, that'll be a good test of the various encoders. Cool. Tim says, I run Pi-hole on my Raspberry Pi 4. Wonder if I could run Companion on the same box. Probably. So I will say Companion eats a lot of CPU for breakfast. That's one of the reasons I moved it off of my laptop, because it was just making my CPU go nuts, and the fan would kick in like full blast, which is very annoying. But Pi-hole is not resource intensive, so there's probably enough room left to run Companion on that as well. Mac Exchange says Hyperdeck Mini does not support externally recorded H.264. That would explain why I've not been able to make that work yet. Oh, and then here, this is also about the Hyperdeck. Why do videos not work in the media pool? Oh, that's not about the Hyperdeck. That's about the ATEM. The ATEM just doesn't have a video player. Very few of them do. Even the higher end ones barely do. And even then, it doesn't support like video. It's more like short animations. It's meant for doing like the stingers and animations for broadcast. So there'll be like a very short limit on the number of frames that can be loaded in, rather than thinking of it as like playing a video file. That's why they make the Hyperdeck, so you can actually load real videos onto the Hyperdeck and control them externally. All right. It skipped around. The chat jumps around sometimes. Jonathan says, recommended USB-C cable brands for the ATEM Mini. I'm having contrast issues with the cables I use. I don't think the cables are going to determine the contrast issues, because it's just data going through it. I will say the thing that the cables have affected for me is latency, I guess, or just having it not work. So it is only USB 2, so you don't need like the fancy Thunderbolt cables, but the shorter cables I've had better luck with. But I don't think I've noticed any differences in the contrast, because it's a digital signal at the end of the day. Nathan says, wipe for split screen view. Preview camera comes in halfway. Oh. Okay, we're going to do that. Just because, let me go back to my test one. Back to my video clip. Oh, I want to show you the multi. Keep doing that. Okay, we're going to put that on air. We're going to use wipe. And then wipe. Oh, I need to do this. Maybe it would help if my transition was set to a better one, like this. Let's see. What's going on here? What are you saying? Wipe for split screen view. Preview camera comes in halfway. Okay. So we want the preview camera to show let's put, what are you complaining about? Okay, let's put the media player, no, let's put color bars in the background. And then I probably don't want a soft border. Yeah, I don't see how this helps though, because it's just going to cover me up. Or if I put the media player in the background, not the media player, Hyperdeck in the background, I can't scoot that. So I can just do half and half. Oh, so, okay. This was not about solving my split screen issues. This was about being able to position the person on the side of each camera and split down the middle. Yeah. Personally, I feel like using the T-bar like this is not a good stable solution, but that's just me. Yeah, I think the upstream key and then just sit over to the side is probably a little better, because that way your guest can still be centered and only you have to be the one that's awkwardly off to the side. Cool. All right. We're going to go for like 10 more minutes. Going to go to 11:30. What do you think the next ATEM Mini upgrade will be? Adding a SIM card slot like the YOLO box? I doubt it. I really doubt they would add a cell phone connection into it. The only reason the YOLO box can do it is because it is an Android device already. I don't know, honestly, like what the next mini upgrade is going to be, because I was not expecting any of these features they added at all. Nathan says ISO is an acronym for International Standards Organization, which is why ISO 100 is the same everywhere. Oh, for the lighting use of it, but not for ISO recording, right? And then Roland says overloaded ISO acronym is used in the audio world too, in the same way it's used in the context of recording separate video files. Okay. Yeah. Here's a good question. Using the grab stills feature, can the picture be saved on the computer, or is it only on the ATEM and lost after switching it off? You can save it onto the computer. So what you do is if you go into media pool, oh yeah, you can see I was testing out capturing a frame. If I just hit capture still, it's going to grab a frame of program out, which is, I guess, me right now. And it put it there. I can't, unfortunately, drag it. But what you can do is save as. And we're going to only save the media pool. And if you save the media pool, what it does is it actually puts... where is that folder? It puts a folder on your computer with the ATEM media pool. And there's all my stuff. But this is Capture 6, which should be... Oh, that was a wonderful picture. But yeah, so now it's on my computer as a ping file. There's the thumbnail test, not the one I actually used. So yeah, totally doable. Where were we? Joey says, do you have any advice on HDMI splitters for the ATEM Mini Pro output? I thought I have used mine. I don't have one on my desk. I was looking around for it. I don't have one here for some reason, but I thought I'd use mine at some point for it, but now I'm not actually sure, because most of the time I'm plugging into a monitor that has an HDMI out. So instead of splitting, it's pass through. So I am, I'm using the monitor's HDMI out to chain to my other monitor or whatever the other output is. Not sure about splitters, but the one that I do use is this one. And I'll put it in the chat here. So, yeah. Crane says, I stream hockey, and the more you move the camera, the worse the quality is. Best to pan less and just let the play happen. Yeah, but I mean, that's true for anything, because motion, like the fact that, this is all one solid color is very easy to encode. The fact that, it's not a solid color back there, but it's not moving, that's a lot easier to encode than motion. So the more motion, the more data it takes to encode that. And if the entire camera is moving, then the entire scene is motion. And it's just more data to encode. So if you are streaming, then it's also that the ATEM is trying to keep you at around whatever your data rate is. So like right now I'm streaming at 6 megabits, but it's not constant bit rate. It does change. So if I switch over to like my computer screen, where there's actually very little changing, like here there's a little bit of noise, right? Like it's kind of fuzz because it's still a camera sensor. But when it's a computer screen, or like this text, for example, on the screen, it's 100% not changing. So it's very low bit rate required to encode that. So the ATEM will ramp down the bit rate to save bandwidth, but it's not going to want to go much more than the cap you've set. So it's going to try to fit all of the encoding in under the limit you've set. And if you just have so much motion that it takes more data to encode than your data rate, it's going to then do more compression, which is going to look bad. So you could try a higher streaming bit rate, but honestly, most things aren't going to want to receive more than 6 megabits anyway. Like YouTube starts yelling at you if you send it too much data. But that is just the way that this encoder works. Some encoders can do a better job. Some formats can do a better job. Like I think H.265 is a lot better at encoding all sorts of things, but these are all H.264 devices. And yeah. All right. Serge says, Hyperdeck Studio Mini video format, Apple ProRes 4444. This also supports alpha channels. Yeah. I mean, if you have an alpha channel to export, then that's cool. And you'll need to run your SDI, dual SDI outs converted to HDMI into the ATEM to bring them back in. But that does work. It's not really meant to be used with the ATEM because there's only 4 inputs and you're going to eat 2 of them for your graphics, which is a little bit silly. But that's why that is why like the TV studio with 4 SDIs and 4 HDMIs is a really good idea to pair with the Hyperdeck, because then you only take 2 of your SDIs and then you still have 4 HDMIs. I want them to update the TV studio line. I want it to be $1,000, and I want it to have scalers on each input and the streaming encoder and the USB support. That's what I want. ATEM TV Studio Mini. Doesn't even need to be 4K. Just needs to be 8 inputs. Some of them are SDIs. Mac Exchange says, exporting from Final Cut Pro to the Hyperdeck Mini, Apple ProRes 422 LT. Cool. That one should work. And then, yeah, the key with the Hyperdeck is all the files on the card have to be the same format, resolution, format, everything. Otherwise, it's going to pick one and only show ones that match that. So that'd be weird. But yeah, if you feel like some of your video files are disappearing, that's where they're going. Is that they probably don't match the rest of the files. All right. I'm way behind on chat again, but we're coming up on time. Let me see what else we've got here. Video Pepper says, can you share that test video? We'll see. I'm not sure how I want to share it yet. We'll see. It's also very large. So and I have to like put it somewhere that people can download, 6 gigs. Well, I looped, it's a 6-second video. And when it's looped for a minute, the minute long 10 plays of them ends up being 6 gigs, which is a lot. But that's more useful than just a 6-second clip. We'll see. I know that like the reason I made it is because I was looking for one and I couldn't find any that didn't cost a lot of money. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we missed the trash truck today. All right. Bob says, do you think it'd be possible for Blackmagic to add a save function to a resized picture-in-picture so the buttons can be used? Right? It's so frustrating that those buttons just do whatever they want to do. I really would want to see those either, yeah, saving picture-in-picture settings in those would be good, or just make them macro buttons. Oh, okay, then Nathan's probably really frustrated that I wasn't looking at the chat when I was messing with that that setting. Yeah, so set up a macro so you don't have to guess where the position is to move the T-bar partway through. Yeah, that's doable. I still feel like, why not just use the downstream key? I guess then you can use your downstream key for graphics. Yeah, that works. Next upgrade, headphone jack and second HDMI out for $300 more. Yeah, that would put it at $11.95 US, and that is then more expensive than the Television Studio, which is $9.95, but it does have more features than the Television Studio because it has the streaming encoder built in. Yeah, I'm so curious to see what they're going to do next. I have no idea. No idea. Marcellus says, I have the ATEM Mini Pro ISO on order, back ordered, of course, because it's not shipped anywhere except Europe yet. Why do they get everything first? But yeah, you know, a USB hub doesn't work for that. You can't have a USB hub and also use it as a webcam and recording to a drive, because the hub would have to work in two directions for that to work, which is not possible. GoWeb says, what's best way to use an iPhone as an NDI source on OBS? The NDI Camera app is great. It totally works. And yeah, then you need the NDI plugin for OBS. Have you tried using an external consumer-grade HDMI switcher to effectively add another ATEM HDMI input? I have not done this since I first started using ATEMs ages ago, because it's terrible. It's really bad. The reason is because those switchers that are like, you know, the 4-to-1 HDMI switchers that you get for like your entertainment center, they basically like hard cut the wire between the input and output. Not literally, but like effectively that's what it's doing. So it's essentially like plugging in the cable every time you switch. So some devices will work fine. Like some HDMI cameras, especially if it's like fixed resolution out, chosen in the camera, and it's not auto negotiated, it might work. But if you plug in a computer, for example, into one of those as one of the inputs, imagine what happens every time you unplug an HDMI source from your laptop. Like your computer is like, oh, now there's only 2 displays. Let me move everything around, right? So every time you switch, that would happen, and it'll renegotiate like on both ends. If your cameras do negotiate like what resolution and to send, that happens, so it'll be a little bit laggy. It's not going to be a good experience, I will say that. I would much sooner recommend buying an ATEM Mini, the $300 one, because then you get 4 inputs and run that as or it gives you 3 additional inputs. And that's probably the best way. That's only $100 per input. And that's gonna be much better than using one of those cheapo hard cut switches. Cool. All right. Don't know if this was asked before. Is it possible to stream from one ATEM Mini Pro to multiple streaming bridges? I don't think so, because you choose it. It shows up as the destination that you choose in the ATEM Mini Pro software. So that's where it's going to go. it remains to be seen whether you could stream from something like restream.io to one of the streaming bridges, which I still think will work. So that could be an option. Serge says, yes, the TV studio needs an update. I have the TVS HD also. It's so loud that I don't use it in here, and I haven't used it in a while because I was mostly just using it for conferences. But yeah, I want to see that upgraded with all the extras from the ATEM. Oh, Jeremy says, can you drop the link for your monitor stand? Yeah, this thing has been great. This monitor stand is just bumps everything just above off the desk so I can like set things on it and not have it get lost behind my laptop. Where did I put that link? Sorry for all the typing noises. It's also got a charging pad for my phone, which I never knew how handy that was going to be. But it's so amazing that I can just like set my phone down and it charges. I love it. Yeah, it's great. Okay, let me grab this link. Here is the monitor stand, monitor riser, I think is what it's called. Monitor riser. Cool. And chat, I'm almost caught up with the chat. We're way past time, but we're still having fun. Oh, the chat went so long that it's looped around and my highlights are off again. This is a weird bug in this hack. All right. What gear do you use to upload your stream when the client says they can't supply an Ethernet connection, Teardeck Go, or something similar? I try very hard to get them to supply an Ethernet connection. If not, I will ask them to give me a dedicated Wi-Fi access point, which they can sometimes do or negotiate with the venue. If that doesn't work, I've actually streamed off of my cell phone before. Like literally my cell phone, where I think I was using the oh my god, what's the hub? The white tall hub thing. Oh my god. What is the name of the streaming device that I have done a review on before? Oh my gosh, I'm completely blanking on this. It's Sling Studio. That's the one. Okay. Thank you. Everybody realized at the same time as I did. Sling Studio. So that thing connects to Wi-Fi, and so I make it connect to my phone and tether up my phone connection, and it actually works fine. Like I've had that as long as I have good cell service. I have to keep filling my Mint Mobile with data because it burns through data pretty quick, but it's pretty good. All right. Where are we in the chat? Roland says it might be possible to use UDP Samplicator. I don't know what that is. UDP Samplicator to replicate RTSP stream if both bridges use the same key. What is UDP Samplicator? I'm gonna look that up afterwards. I'm excited to try this thing out. I hope I get it soon. Marcellus says, what lens are you using on this camera right now? This is my probably my favorite lens. This is the Lumix 15mm lens. And I like this lens because it is so small, it's very short, and it goes down to 1.7, f1.7, and it's good. It's good quality. I'm losing the capacity to get excited about switchers because I can't get my hands on them. Well, you will, I'm going to have one for sale, so someone's going to get mine. Johnson says, have you tried SRT for streaming? I haven't yet. I don't have any SRT. I don't really want to use, I don't like using software So I want hardware stuff, and I haven't yet done the investigation on tracking down SRT hardware. I think one of the ones I was looking at for my NDI experiments also supported SRT, but I don't remember now. I haven't tried it yet. Roland says, UDP Samplicator is a open source tool that can replicate UDP traffic to multiple destinations. Oh, interesting. That could work, yeah. So sort of like it's like Restream, but not aware of the video. It's just broadcasting the bits. I could see that working. Cool. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we are just about at time. I think I've caught up to the chat, and I appreciate everybody watching. I think we're going to end it here. And with wrapping up with what am I saying? Thank you all for watching. I am going to do a video as soon as the ATEM Mini Pro ISO comes in, because that is exciting. And if they launch the firmware for the Pro with the recording update earlier, which I suspect they might, I'll at least be able to try the DaVinci Resolve project creation on the Pro. If you do want my ATEM Mini Pro, I'm going to post it for sale, and I'm going to post it probably on the forum. So I'll drop a link here, and take a look at the buy and sell category. It'll show up there at some point. Go make an account, and I'll either just post it for sale there directly, and you can talk to me, or we'll see if I need to put it on eBay or something as well. But I have a feeling I can find someone who wants it, and we can avoid going through eBay. But yeah, I'm going to sell that, because as soon as I get the ISO in, I don't need 3 Pros. And somebody can make use of it better than me. All right. Thank you all for watching. Have a good rest of the day, and I will see you again same time next week.